Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and I'm going to be doing a video to show you how I painted my bellflower. This video goes straight through the whole work and is a condensed version. I was in the middle of painting a very complicated landscape, and I just couldn't get it right. So I decided to take a little break and do a beautiful flower, which just was a pleasure to pick from the garden, look at in front of me, and have some fun painting. In this video, I started by wetting the paper, applying different shades, and then when that was dry, I worked in much tighter with petal definition, flower definition, working with negative spaces between the flowers, and lifting colors to do some highlighting. I hope you enjoy it and give it a like. Subscribe to see more of my videos, and now let's paint a bellflower. I'm working on a painting about a clustered bellflower. The Latin for this flower is campanula. I'm starting by masking the small white centers of individual flowers in the cluster. After that's dry, I do wet my paper, although it's not shown here. And I begin using different shades of blue, purple, and pinks and magentas. I think a mistake that some people might make in painting a group of small clustered flowers like this is trying to use all the same color. By using different shades, it seems to add more interest to the flowers and more interest to the painting. I'm forming individual little flowers and the petals for each one, sketching them out with my brush, and on the wet paper they're spreading very nicely and blending together. I continue to wet the paper as it starts to dry, because I do want this wet on wet approach to begin with. If the paper's too wet, I will have no control whatsoever. And I'm trying to preserve some whites within the floral composition. So I get it medium wet and not too wet and not too dry. And that takes some practice, but it is achievable. Darkening the centers of each little cluster around the white area in the center. The flowers were facing all different ways, so they each had a different point of view as to what was showing. Adding greens to the painting, starting with a sap green and a hooker's green dark. And I'm trying to vary the intensity of the color I apply so it's not all uniform. To me, it looks better and more natural. Also adding some different colors to each leaf. And as you can see, in some cases, the purples and pinks are running into the leaves. I could blot that if I didn't like it, but I do like it, so I'm letting it do what it wants to do. Quick scan for my reference, and then I tilt the paper around. Let it run where it wants to run, to mix the colors on the paper and to vary the composition. Coming back to the second session after the painting is dry, and I'm adding some more greens. Yellows to the green as well. Using these kind of colors sets up a complementary color scheme, because yellow is opposite purple, and when I add some orange, that's the opposite color of blue. Coming back, I now take the masking areas out because the painting and paper were totally dry. And look how light it's faded. Time to work on the individual flower forms. And I'll be bringing them out with both sketching and shading with my brush. Here I am working individual flower by individual flower with all the little petals. I'm picking out the forms and painting in the petals, preserving the whites at the center that I had masked out previously. I am both using my reference flower, my reference photo, and my own judgment about what will work and what will look good. This process does take me a while because there are so many little separate flowers in this clustered form. And each flower form presents in a unique way. They are not all the same. Some are straight on and some are sideways, some are squinched together and some are half hidden or twisted. So this part does take a lot of time. What I'm doing here is removing color from some of the petals where they fold over and have a glossy highlight. Building these flower forms involves adding paint and taking paint away. Where I take the paint away, I will paint it dark around that area. And then all the areas between the flowers where there's only negative space showing will mostly be dark. So I'll be adding darks into the negative spaces. The development continues, flower by flower, and negative space by negative space. I'm carefully painting the centers of the flowers that show the white parts in the middle, the stamens, and making sure the stamens all are clear and not raggedy from the masking fluid application. And doing some more lifting of paint to make some more petals more prominent against the dark spaces now behind them. I simply paint it with my wet brush several times, blot it with my paper towel. The paper I'm using is a nice Arches paper, and it does take scrubbing and lifting very well. I'm tightening up the centers here again. And I will put down some dark areas and then blend them outward with my damp brush. The blues I'm using for this composition are cobalt blue, ultramarine blue. I'm using purple, I believe it's Windsor purple, and I'm using Quin magenta. To get my darkest mixes, I'm putting a little bit of indigo into the purple. And my leaves are a mixture of Hooker's Green Dark, Sap Green, yellow, and some orange. I'm getting to the point where individual flowers are standing out nicely. I have not defined every flower. In some cases, only petals are showing from the flowers. And I'm at the stage where I'm tweaking along. I'm going to evaluate by covering up various portions of the painting and seeing what might need to come out a little more with some accent work. I cover the painting up in quadrants, left and right and top and bottom. I find this shows me a very good view of where things need to be adjusted that I don't see in the whole composition looked at all together anyway. So I'm accenting into some greens and some purples. Go on and clean up a little bit of the edges, and we're just about done. But I did decide to add some spiky little edges around the outside of the plant, since I saw this in my reference photo. So I'm exaggerating the colors at the outside edges. And a little more accenting in the center. signing, and it's done. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's a clustered bellflower. I hope you enjoyed my bellflower demonstration, and you'll give it a like and subscribe. If you click the bell, you'll get a notice whenever I release a new video. There's links below to the products I use that you could check out too. I'll see you next video.